It all began on a rainy evening in late October. I was scrolling through the depths of the internet, searching for something to fill the void of my mundane life. That's when I stumbled upon a forum dedicated to the dark web. Curiosity piqued. I ventured deeper, my heart racing with both excitement and dread. Among the bizarre listings, one caught my eye: a vintage porcelain doll. Described as one of a kind, the seller claimed it had a mysterious past and was imbued with an uncanny ability to reveal secrets. I hesitated. The warnings about the dark web echoed in my mind, stories of scams, illegal trades, and worse, but the allure of owning something so unique was too tempting to resist. After some deliberation, I made the purchase, driven by a mix of intrigue and an insatiable desire for novelty. A week later, the package arrived. It was unmarked, just a plain brown box that felt oddly heavy in my hands. I tore it open with anticipation, revealing the doll nestled in layers of bubble wrap. Its face was eerily beautiful, with glassy blue eyes that seemed to follow me as I moved. The intricate lace dress was yellowed with age, and its porcelain skin had a delicate sheen that made it look almost lifelike. That night, I placed the doll on my shelf, its gaze fixed on me as I tried to sleep. I felt an odd chill in the room, but I brushed it off as my imagination running wild. After all, it was just a doll, right? The following days were uneventful until strange occurrences began to unfold. It started with whispers, soft murmurs that seemed to emanate from the doll when I was alone. At first, I thought it was just the wind or perhaps my mind playing tricks on me. But then came the dreams. Each night, I found myself trapped in vivid nightmares where shadows danced around me, and I could hear hushed voices calling my name. In these dreams, the doll would appear, its eyes glowing eerily as it revealed fragments of my past secrets I had buried deep within myself. One morning, I woke up in a cold sweat after another restless night. My heart raced as I recalled a particular secret, a moment from my childhood that still haunted me, a time when I had betrayed my best friend for popularity. As I sat up in bed, trying to shake off the lingering fear, I glanced at the doll on my shelf. To my horror, it seemed to smile back at me. Days turned into weeks, and the whispers grew louder. They became clearer each night until one evening, while staring at the doll during dinner, I heard it distinctly say my name, Emily. My fork clattered against my plate as panic surged through me. How could this be happening? It was just a doll. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just any ordinary toy, it was something more sinister. That night, as thunder rumbled outside and rain lashed against my window, I decided to confront whatever force had taken hold of me through this cursed object. I sat down in front of the doll and demanded answers. "What do you want from me?" I shouted into the stillness of my room. For a moment there was silence, a heavy pause that felt like an eternity. Then came a soft voice from somewhere deep within me, an echo of my own fears and regrets. "You know what you've done," it whispered. Chills ran down my spine as memories flooded back, moments of cruelty disguised as innocence, laughter shared at someone else's expense, secrets kept hidden beneath layers of shame. The doll wasn't revealing new secrets, it was forcing me to confront those I'd long buried. As tears streamed down my face, I realized that this wasn't just about me, it was about accountability and facing the darkness within myself. But even as clarity dawned on me, an unsettling thought crept into my mind. Was this doll simply reflecting my own guilt back at me? Or was there something more malevolent at play? The answer would come soon enough, but not before it dragged me deeper into its web of secrets. This segment sets up an intriguing premise while establishing tension and character development for Emily's journey with the doll she bought from the dark web. Let me know if you need further assistance or additional segments. The following days were a blur of anxiety and dread. I couldn't shake the feeling that the doll was watching me, its glassy eyes reflecting my every move. I tried to convince myself that it was just a figment of my imagination, a trick of the mind fueled by guilt and fear. But deep down, I knew something was terribly wrong. Each night, the whispers returned, growing louder and more insistent. They echoed in my mind like a haunting melody, drawing me into a dark spiral of memories I had long tried to forget. I found myself unable to sleep, tormented by visions of my past. The laughter of friends turned to whispers behind closed doors, the betrayal that had cost me my best friend, Sarah. Sarah and I had been inseparable since childhood. We shared secrets, dreams, and fears. But as we entered high school, everything changed. The allure of popularity drew me away from her. I began to hang out with a different crowd, one that thrived on gossip and drama. In my quest for acceptance, I betrayed Sarah in the worst way possible. I spread a rumor about her that shattered her reputation overnight. It was a moment of weakness that would haunt me forever. As I lay in bed each night, the doll seemed to draw out these memories, forcing me to relive the pain I had caused. It was as if it fed off my guilt, growing stronger with each tear I shed. The more I resisted confronting my past, the more powerful the doll became. One evening, after yet another sleepless night filled with nightmares, I decided to take action. I needed to understand what was happening to me and why this doll had such a hold on my life. Perhaps it was time to dig deeper into its origins. I returned to the dark web forum where I had first discovered the doll. After hours of searching through cryptic posts and obscure listings, I finally found a thread discussing similar experiences with haunted objects purchased online. The users shared chilling stories, dolls that whispered secrets, mirrors that showed dark reflections of their owners' souls, and artifacts that seemed to possess minds of their own. One post stood out among the rest. It detailed an encounter with a woman who had bought a doll from the same seller as mine. Her story mirrored mine almost exactly. She too had experienced whispers and vivid dreams, revealing her darkest secrets. In her case, however, things escalated quickly. She claimed that after several weeks of torment, she lost her grip on reality entirely. I felt a chill run down my spine as I read her account. She described how she had become paranoid, convinced that everyone around her knew her secrets and judged her for them. Eventually, she isolated herself completely until one day she vanished without a trace. The post ended with a warning: if you hear it, call your name. Run. Panic surged through me as I closed my laptop. The weight of my guilt felt heavier than ever before. What if this doll was more than just an object? What if it was somehow connected to something darker? My thoughts spiraled as I considered what might happen if I didn't confront this entity controlling my life. That night, as thunder rumbled outside and rain lashed against my window once again, I resolved to face my fears head-on. With determination coursing through me, I took the doll off its shelf and placed it on my lap. "You want secrets? Let's talk," I said aloud. The room fell silent for a moment before the whispers began again, soft at first, but gradually growing louder until they filled the space around me like an unsettling chorus. "Emily, Emily," they called in unison. "Stop," I shouted, feeling both terrified and empowered by my defiance. "You think you can control me? You're just a doll." But deep down, I felt the truth. This wasn't just about the doll. It was about me facing my own demons, the guilt that had festered inside for years. Suddenly, one voice broke through the cacophony, a clear voice that sent chills down my spine. "You can't escape what you've done." My heart raced as images flashed before my eyes. Sarah's face twisted in pain as she learned about the rumor, her tears streaming down her cheeks when she confronted me, her empty seat at lunch after everyone turned against her. "I'm sorry," I cried out into the darkness. "I didn't mean it. It was a mistake." The whispers paused for a moment before resuming with renewed intensity, a cacophony of accusations and regrets swirling around me like a tempest. "You betrayed her. You let your fear control you." I clutched the doll tightly in my hands as tears streamed down my face. "What do you want from me?" "Face your truth," it whispered back in an eerily calm tone that contrasted sharply with the chaos around us. In that moment of clarity amidst turmoil, something shifted within me. I realized that confronting my past was not just about acknowledging what happened. It was about seeking forgiveness, not only from Sarah but also from myself. With newfound resolve, I made a decision. I would find Sarah and apologize for what I had done all those years ago. It wouldn't erase the pain or change what happened, but perhaps it would lift this weight off my shoulders once and for all. The next morning dawned gray and overcast, a fitting backdrop for what lay ahead. After gathering my courage, I searched online for Sarah's contact information, but found nothing but dead ends. She had seemingly vanished from social media after high school. Determined not to give up easily, I reached out to mutual friends who might have stayed in touch with her over the years. After several fruitless attempts filled with awkward conversations about our pasts, one friend finally mentioned that Sarah had moved to another city, but provided me with an address where she might still be living. With trembling hands gripping the steering wheel of my car later that day, I drove toward Sarah's new home, a small town several hours away from mine. Memories flooded back during the journey, laughter shared over ice cream cones, late-night conversations about dreams, moments when we promised never to let anyone come between us. As I pulled up outside a modest house framed by autumn leaves turning shades of gold and crimson, doubt crept in again. What if she didn't want to see me? What if she hated me? But deep down inside, a flicker of hope ignited within me. I stepped out of the car and walked toward her front door. With each step closer came waves of anxiety crashing against my resolve, until finally I knocked hesitantly on the door. After what felt like an eternity waiting on that porch filled with memories both sweet and bitter, the door creaked open slowly, revealing Sarah standing before me, older now, but still radiating warmth despite everything we'd been through together. Emily, her voice trembled slightly as recognition dawned upon her face. Shock mingled with confusion, and perhaps even fear flickered in those familiar blue eyes once so full of trust. "Can we talk?" My voice, barely above a whisper, carried all those years' worth of regret wrapped tightly within it. As we settled into her living room, surrounded by photographs capturing moments frozen in time, it became clear this conversation would not only change our lives but perhaps free us both from burdens we'd carried far too long. This segment expands on Emily's internal struggle while introducing significant character development and plot progression as she confronts her past mistakes related to Sarah. Let me know if you need further assistance or additional segments. As I sat across from Sarah, the weight of our shared history hung heavily in the air. The living room was filled with photographs, snapshots of happier times, laughter frozen in frames. But for me, each image was a reminder of what I had lost and the pain I had caused. "Emily," Sarah began, her voice shaky but steady, "I didn't expect to see you here. It's been a long time." "I know," I replied, my heart racing. "I've thought about you every day since everything happened. I came because I need to apologize. I need you to know how sorry I am." Her expression softened, but there was still a flicker of hurt in her eyes. "You don't have to apologize. What's done is done." "No, it's not that simple," I insisted, leaning forward. "I hurt you in a way that changed your life, and I never took responsibility for it. I let fear dictate my actions, and I betrayed our friendship for popularity. It was wrong, and you deserved better." Silence enveloped us as Sarah processed my words. I could see the turmoil behind her composed facade, the memories rushing back just as they had for me. Finally she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "It was painful, Emily. You were my best friend, and when you turned on me, it felt like losing a part of myself." Tears welled in my eyes as I recalled the moment when everything fell apart, the cruel whispers that had spread like wildfire through our school, the way Sarah had been ostracized overnight. "I never wanted to hurt you," I said, my voice breaking. "I was scared of being alone, and I thought that by fitting in with the popular crowd, I could escape that fear." Sarah looked away, staring at a photograph on the wall, one of us laughing at a summer fair years ago, carefree and innocent. "I understand why you did it," she said slowly, "but it doesn't change what happened." "I know," I replied, desperation creeping into my tone. "But I want to make things right. Can we start over? Can we try to rebuild what we lost?" She sighed deeply, her shoulders slumping slightly as if the weight of our shared past was too much to bear. "It's not that easy," she said finally. "Trust is hard to regain once it's broken." "I get that," I said earnestly, "but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to earn your trust back. Please give me a chance." For a moment, Sarah remained silent, her gaze fixed on the floor as she contemplated my words. The tension in the room was palpable, a mixture of hope and fear swirling around us. Finally, she looked up and met my gaze with a mix of vulnerability and resolve. "Okay," she said softly. "Let's talk about it, about everything." As we began to share our stories, our fears and regrets, I felt an unexpected sense of relief wash over me. It was cathartic to finally voice the guilt that had haunted me for so long. "I've been carrying this burden alone for years," Sarah admitted quietly. "When you betrayed me, it felt like everyone turned against me too, not just you." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears as she continued. "I lost friends, people who claimed they cared about me just walked away without a second thought." "I can't imagine how lonely that must have felt," I said gently. "It was isolating," she confessed. "And it took me a long time to rebuild my life after that." She paused before adding softly, "But now, seeing you here makes me realize that maybe we both needed this closure." As we spoke late into the evening, sharing memories both painful and joyful, I felt something shift within me. A lightness that had been absent for far too long began to seep into my heart. But even amidst this newfound connection, there was still an underlying darkness lurking in the shadows, a reminder of the doll waiting back at home. As our conversation drew to a close and night fell outside Sarah's window, I knew I couldn't leave without addressing what had been plaguing me since its arrival. "Sarah," I began hesitantly, "there's something else I need to tell you. Something strange has been happening since I bought that doll from the dark web." her brow furrowed with concern as she leaned closer. "What do you mean?" "It's like. It knows things about me, my secrets, my regrets." My voice trembled slightly as I recounted how the doll had whispered my name and revealed painful memories during my sleepless nights. Sarah listened intently, her expression shifting from concern to intrigue as she absorbed my story. "Have you tried getting rid of it?" she asked thoughtfully. "I thought about it," I admitted, feeling conflicted about letting go of something that had forced me to confront my past, but at what cost. But part of me wonders if there's more to this doll than just being haunted. "What do you mean?" Sarah pressed. "I think it's somehow tied to my guilt. The more I try to ignore my past mistakes, the stronger its hold on me becomes." She nodded slowly, as if considering this revelation carefully before responding. "Maybe confronting it head-on is what you need to do next." As we talked late into the night about how best to deal with this dark presence in my life, a plan began forming in my mind. Perhaps facing the doll would not only free me from its grip, but also symbolize taking full responsibility for everything that had happened between us. The next morning dawned bright and clear, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside me as I drove back home with renewed purpose coursing through my veins. Once inside my apartment filled with remnants of memories, both good and bad, I approached the shelf where the doll sat silently watching over everything like an ominous guardian. "All right," I said aloud, firmly addressing its still form before me. "It's time we have a real conversation." With trembling hands I picked up the doll and held it close, its porcelain skin cool against mine. As if sensing my resolve, it seemed almost alive in its stillness. "Why are you doing this?" I demanded softly but firmly, the air around us thick with tension, as if waiting for an answer from within those glassy blue eyes staring back at me unflinchingly. In response came only silence, a heavy pause stretching between us, until finally I felt something shift deep within myself, a surge of courage igniting like fire within my chest. "I refuse to let you control me anymore." As those words left my lips, the whispers erupted once again, but this time they sounded different, not accusatory, but rather pleading, a chorus echoing through time, revealing truths hidden beneath layers of guilt. "You can't run away from your past," they cried out together, resonating through every corner of my mind until finally I understood. This doll wasn't just an object, it was a reflection, a mirror showing all parts of myself, both light and dark, and perhaps by embracing both sides I could finally break free from its hold over me. With newfound clarity, I placed the doll back down on its shelf, its gaze still fixed upon me, but now instead of fear I felt strength coursing through every fiber of my being. "From now on," I declared resolutely, "I will face whatever comes next, with or without you." And as those words hung heavy in the air around us, I knew deep down inside that this was only just beginning. A journey toward healing awaited ahead, and no matter what lay ahead, I would no longer allow fear or guilt dictate who I was meant to be. This segment explores Emily's confrontation with her past while highlighting her growth and determination to take control of her life again. If you need further assistance or additional segments, feel free to ask. The days that followed my confrontation with the doll were both liberating and unsettling. I felt a weight lift from my shoulders, but the presence of the doll still loomed in my apartment like a ghost. I had faced my past, but I knew that I needed to take further action to truly break free from its grip. Determined to reclaim my life, I began a series of rituals to cleanse my space and rid myself of the lingering darkness. I researched various methods, smudging with sage, using salt to create protective barriers, and even lighting candles infused with intention. Each evening, I dedicated time to these practices, hoping to dispel any malevolent energy that might be tied to the doll. One night, as I prepared for another cleansing ritual, I felt a surge of doubt creep in. What if these actions were futile? What if the doll was more than just an object? What if it contained a spirit or entity that wouldn't let go so easily? Shaking off the uncertainty, I gathered my supplies, a bundle of sage, a small bowl of salt, and a candle. As I lit the candle and watched the flame flicker to life, I took a deep breath and centered myself. I am in control, I reminded myself. I will not let fear dictate my life any longer. With the sage burning, I began to walk around my apartment, allowing the smoke to waft into every corner. As I moved closer to the shelf where the doll sat, I felt a chill in the air, a reminder of its presence. "You don't own me," I declared firmly, waving the sage in front of it. I refused to be held captive by my past. As the smoke curled around the doll, something strange happened. The air grew thick with tension, and for a brief moment I thought I saw its eyes flash with an otherworldly light. My heart raced as whispers filled my ears once more, this time louder and more insistent than ever. Emily. Emily, they called out in unison, echoing through my mind like a haunting melody. Stop, I shouted, feeling both terrified and empowered by my defiance. You can't control me anymore. The whispers fell silent for a moment before transforming into a single voice, a soft yet commanding tone that resonated deep within me. You cannot escape your truth. What truth? I demanded, clenching my fists in frustration. I've faced everything. I've acknowledged my mistakes. Your truth is not just about your past, it is about acceptance, the voice replied gently yet firmly. You must accept all parts of yourself, the light and the dark. In that moment of clarity amidst chaos, I realized that this doll was not merely an object haunting me, it was a manifestation of my own fears and regrets, a reflection of everything I had tried to hide from myself. I accept who I am, I said aloud with newfound conviction. I accept my mistakes and the pain they caused. As those words left my lips, something shifted within me. The tension in the air began to dissipate, as if a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. The whispers faded into silence, leaving behind an overwhelming sense of peace. With trembling hands, I extinguished the sage and placed it back on its shelf alongside the salt and candle. I'm done living in fear, I declared softly to myself. But even as relief washed over me, another thought crept into my mind. What should I do with the doll now? It had been both a source of torment and an unexpected catalyst for change in my life. After much contemplation, I decided that it was time to let go completely, to release myself from its hold once and for all. But how? Throwing it away felt wrong. It deserved more than that after everything we had been through together. Inspired by Sarah's earlier suggestion about confronting it head-on, I resolved to perform one final ritual, a farewell ceremony, where I could honor what this experience had taught me, while also releasing its energy back into the universe. That weekend, under a full moon's glow illuminating my living room, I set up an altar adorned with flowers representing new beginnings, each petal symbolizing growth and healing. As night fell around me, I lit candles surrounding the doll, creating an intimate circle of light that felt both sacred and powerful. With each flickering flame, my heart swelled with gratitude for everything this journey had taught me, the importance of facing one's past while embracing all parts of oneself. Thank you for showing me what needed to change, I whispered softly as tears filled my eyes, a mixture of sorrow for what was lost, but also joy for what lay ahead, a future unburdened by guilt or shame. With each word spoken, a sense of closure enveloped me like a warm embrace, reminding me that healing takes time but begins with acceptance. Once finished, I took one last look at the doll, its porcelain face now appearing almost serene beneath candlelight, as if acknowledging our shared journey together, before finally placing it into a box lined with soft fabric, a final resting place for memories long buried. As dawn broke on that new day, I felt lighter than ever before, ready to embrace whatever came next without fear holding me back any longer. After sealing up the box, I decided it was time to reach out once more, to reconnect with Sarah, not just as friends but as allies on this journey toward healing together. We met at our favorite coffee shop, the familiar aroma of roasted beans filling our senses as we settled into a cozy corner booth, our laughter mingling effortlessly amid conversations about life's ups and downs since we last spoke. I feel like we're finally getting somewhere, Sarah said after sharing stories about her own struggles over steaming mugs filled with warmth, both physical and emotional, as we reminisced about old memories while creating new ones along this path toward reconciliation. Me too, I replied, earnestly grateful for her understanding nature, which allowed us both space needed for growth, while also nurturing our friendship anew. As we talked about everything from work challenges to personal goals, I couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude wash over me. It was as if every moment spent apart had led us here to this very moment where healing began anew between us both. But even amidst all this joy, a lingering question remained: what would happen next? Would there still be remnants left behind from that doll haunting our lives? Weeks passed since sealing away those memories, and while life continued moving forward, I couldn't shake off feelings lingering just beneath surface level, a sense that perhaps closure wasn't fully complete yet. One evening after work, I found myself wandering through local thrift shops, searching for inspiration, when something caught my eye, a familiar shape nestled among dusty shelves filled with forgotten treasures. Another porcelain doll staring back at me with glassy blue eyes wide open, as if beckoning me closer. My heart raced at first, but then curiosity took hold. What would happen if this time around I embraced rather than feared? With cautious steps, I approached its shelf, where it sat quietly, waiting patiently for someone willing enough to take home its story too. As soon as those delicate fingers brushed against porcelain skin, it felt different than before, not threatening, but rather inviting, a reminder that sometimes facing fears meant embracing them wholeheartedly instead. "I'll take you home," I whispered softly, feeling oddly comforted by this decision made instinctively without hesitation anymore, knowing deep down inside this journey wasn't over yet, it was merely beginning anew. And so, with renewed purpose, I walked out into night air filled with possibilities ahead, ready once again not just confront darkness, but also celebrate light shining brightly within each moment lived, fully embracing every lesson learned along the way. This segment brings closure to Emily's journey while hinting at new beginnings and continued growth. If you need further assistance or additional content, feel free to ask. As I walked home with the new doll cradled in my arms, a sense of calm washed over me. It was as if I had made peace with my past, and now I was ready to embrace whatever this new chapter would bring. The porcelain doll felt different from the one I had bought from the dark web. It seemed to radiate warmth rather than coldness, inviting me to explore its story instead of haunting me with my own. Once home, I placed the doll on a shelf next to the box that held the previous doll. I took a moment to reflect on how far I had come. The darkness that once enveloped my life had begun to lift, revealing a path filled with hope and possibility. I had faced my fears, reconciled with Sarah, and learned the importance of acceptance. Now it was time to create new memories. Over the next few weeks, I found myself drawn to the new doll. Unlike its predecessor, it didn't whisper secrets or dredge up painful memories. Instead, it inspired creativity within me. I began sketching again, something I hadn't done in years, drawing scenes that captured both the beauty and complexity of life. The doll became a muse, a symbol of my journey toward healing. One evening, while working on a new piece, I decided to name the doll Clara, a name that felt fitting for its gentle presence. Clara became a part of my daily routine. I would talk to her as I painted, sharing my thoughts and dreams. It was therapeutic in a way that surprised me. Expressing my feelings out loud helped solidify my commitment to moving forward. However, as much as Clara brought joy into my life, there were moments when shadows from my past crept back in. Occasionally, I would catch myself glancing at the box containing the first doll, a reminder of the fear and guilt that had once consumed me. Each time I did, I felt a pang of anxiety, but also a flicker of resolve. "I won't let you control me anymore," I would whisper to the box before turning back to Clara. "I am stronger than my past." One day, while cleaning my apartment, I noticed Clara's gaze seemed particularly intense as she sat on her shelf. It was as if she were urging me to confront what lay within that box once and for all. The thought made my heart race. Part of me wanted to ignore it and continue living in this newfound peace. But another part, the part that had grown stronger through acceptance, knew it was time. With determination coursing through me, I approached the box. As I unsealed it, memories flooded back, whispers echoing through my mind like distant thunder. But instead of fear, this time there was curiosity. What lessons could I learn from this experience? What truths remained hidden? I lifted the doll from its resting place and held it in my hands for a moment. Its porcelain skin felt cool against mine, a stark contrast to Clara's warmth. "You were a part of my journey," I said softly, "but you don't define me anymore." As if sensing my resolve, the whispers began again, but this time they were different. They felt less like accusations and more like echoes of truth, urging me toward closure. "You cannot escape your truth," they murmured gently. "I know," I replied firmly. "But now I choose how to carry it." With newfound clarity, I took both dolls, Clara and the old one, and placed them side by side on a table in front of me. "You both represent different parts of who I am," I said aloud. "One is filled with fear and regret, the other embodies hope and growth." I closed my eyes for a moment and took a deep breath, allowing myself to feel everything: the pain from betrayal mingling with joy, from reconciliation, the darkness intertwined with light. In that moment of acceptance, I understood that both dolls were necessary pieces of my story, reminders that life is not just about overcoming challenges, but also about embracing every facet along the way. With determination burning brightly within me, I made a decision. Rather than hide away what once haunted me, I would honor it by creating something beautiful out of those experiences. Over the next few weeks, I poured myself into art like never before, using both dolls as inspiration for a series of paintings, exploring themes of duality, the struggle between light and dark, the importance of acknowledging our past while still moving forward toward brighter futures. Each brushstroke became an act of catharsis, a way for me to reclaim ownership over my narrative, to transform pain into beauty, to weave together threads from both sides into something meaningful. As word spread about my new artwork, friends began visiting more frequently, encouraging conversations about healing and growth as we shared stories filled with vulnerability, laughter echoing through walls once heavy with silence. One evening during an art show featuring these pieces, I stood nervously beside Clara, watching guests admire what had emerged from deep within, a testament not only to resilience but also connection forged through shared experiences. "Your work is incredible," one friend exclaimed, eyes shining bright as they studied each piece, intently captivated by stories told through color and form. "Thank you," I replied, humbly grateful for their support, while feeling an overwhelming sense of pride swell within me. It felt good knowing others resonated with what lay beneath surface level, a reflection of journeys traveled together, despite differing paths taken a long way. But even amidst all this joy, a lingering question remained: how would these experiences shape future relationships? Would fear still linger beneath surface-level, threatening connections forged anew? As days turned into weeks, I found myself contemplating these questions more often than not, wondering whether remnants left behind could ever truly fade away completely. One afternoon, while visiting Sarah, we sat together reminiscing about old times over cups filled with steaming chai, the familiar warmth enveloping us like an embrace as we laughed about silly moments shared throughout high school years gone by. Eventually, conversation shifted toward our current lives, and without hesitation I opened up about everything that had transpired since reconnecting, including Clara's role in helping navigate through healing process together. "I think it's amazing how you've turned something so dark into something beautiful," Sarah said thoughtfully, after listening intently, her eyes reflecting understanding gained through shared struggles faced along our individual journeys toward growth. "Thanks," I replied, sincerely feeling grateful for her unwavering support throughout all these years, even when things seemed impossible at times. But even amidst all this joy, a lingering question remained: how would these experiences shape future relationships? Would fear still linger beneath surface-level, threatening connections forged anew? As days turned into weeks, I found myself contemplating these questions more often than not, wondering whether remnants left behind could ever truly fade away completely. Then one evening after work, I received an unexpected message from someone who had been following my art online, a stranger expressing admiration for what they'd seen and asking if we could meet up sometime soon. Curiosity piqued, I agreed without hesitation, and soon found myself sitting across from them at a local cafe, where conversations flowed easily between us like old friends catching up after years apart. As we talked about everything from art inspirations down life experiences shared, it became clear this connection ran deeper than mere chance encounter. It felt genuine, a reminder that sometimes opening oneself up leads unexpected paths filled with possibilities ahead. With every laugh exchanged, I felt lighter than ever before, as if all burdens carried along journey began dissipating slowly, yet surely, leaving room only for hope, optimism blossoming anew within heart once heavy laden by doubt, fears held tightly inside. And so with each passing day I embraced this newfound freedom wholeheartedly, knowing deep down inside, life may never be perfect, but it can always be beautiful when lived authentically, embracing every moment fully without hesitation or regret, lingering just beneath surface level, waiting patiently until ready to face whatever comes next. This segment concludes Emily's journey towards healing and self-acceptance, while hinting at new beginnings in her relationships and artistic endeavors. If you need further assistance or additional content, feel free to ask.